Motoworld is brought to you by Suzuki.
Myers, and welcome to Motoworld. You know, the last time we dropped in on the AMA Road Racing Series, the Pavement Pounders were doing battle in Loudon, New Hampshire. Now, this past weekend, the tour headed to the Great Lakes region for high-speed action on the longest road course in America. Dennis Torres has that.
The 60-mile final would be only 15 laps, so things had to happen in a hurry, and they did. Before number 5, Randy Renfro, and number 10, Doug Chandler, could settle into a good battle for the lead, new Yoshimura recruit Gray crashed on the front straight, bringing out the ambulance and a subsequent red flag. The crumpled Suzuki was brought back to the trailer. Gray was treated and released, and the riders lined up for the restart. As in the first go-around, it was number 5, Renfro, and number 10, Chandler in tow. Road America is a horsepower track, and Renfro was flexing the muscle on his Honda RC30 just as he did in Daytona, the other horsepower track on the tour. But unlike Daytona, the Kawasaki's have been sorted out, and Tom Kipp are next, with Thomas Stevens and Jamie James tied for 5th. 3 different brands of motorcycles in the top 5. Now, Road America is an excellent facility, but there was one complaint from the riders. That was the champagne was flat. Not very conducive for a spring, as Jamie James found out. Reporting for Motoworld, this is Dennis Torres.
Well, Doug Chandler was dominating the pavement proceedings in the U.S. Texan Kevin Schwantz was doing the same at Round 8 of the World Championships in Holland. The Suzuki rider took his 3rd win in 4 races, beating Marlboro Roberts' Yamaha teammates Wayne Rainey and Eddie Lawson. Former champ Lawson was making... You know, over the years, we've shown you enduro competition from the U.S. scene as well as the international arena, but none of it has been as picturesque as the Mauna Kea 200 staged in the Hawaiian island. Chris Larson reports.
Enduro riders are known for traversing just about every type of obstacle and terrain known to man. But I doubt whether many riders have faced cooled, hardened volcanic lava, or even worse, red-hot lava from a still active volcano which dumps tons of the molten rock into the Pacific Ocean every day. Well, you would if you were one of the 127 riders competing in the 15th annual Mauna Kea 200. The starting point for this 205-mile, 2-day event is the city of Hilo on the main island of Hawaii. The diversity of terrain is the most intriguing aspect of the course, and the main reason more and more mainlanders are making the trek across the Pacific to compete in the event. Riders run about 100 miles each day, and 5 checkpoints break up each day in the saddle. That's Hawaiian motocross legend John DeSoto. As you can see, he's demonstrating a unique new feature for flak jacket use. DeSoto has been one of the mainstays of the event since its inception 15 years ago. Most of the Mauna Kea 200 is run up Mount Mauna Kea, which is the largest mountain on the island and is over 14,000 feet above sea level. This paved portion of the course takes the riders above the 8,000-foot mark. Later, the course takes riders off the pavement and back onto trails, which continue to take the riders higher and higher in elevation. At one point, the mist in the air is visible to both the eye and the camera. At about 10,000 feet, some of the 2-stroke machines begin to starve for air, but soon the course leads down the mountain and carburetors can have their fill. The Mauna Kea 200 is not a high-pressure event. Most of the riders are out to have a good time in one of the most unique enduros around. Off-roading is very popular in Hawaii, and it's one of the last remaining frontiers in America where your every move is not under the environmentalist microscope. In fact, some of the animals native to Hawaii love the enduro. Cowabunga! A Motoworld tip of the hat to the Rock Island riders of Hilo, Hawaii, for their efforts in putting together one of the best run and organized enduros anywhere. Reporting from Motoworld, this is Chris Larson. Aloha!
Well, from off-roading in Hawaii, we turn to our weekly trail tip. I'm sure some of the competitors in Hawaii would have benefited from this week's tip, which deals with riding in sand. Here's Team Suzuki's National Enduro Champion, Randy Hawkins.
This week on Motorworld, I'm going to show you how to get really radical in the sand. When riding in sandy conditions on a trail ride, you can commit yourself more because your bike will hold a better line. As you approach deep sand, Be prepared to change your braking form because the sand puts a heavier drag on the bike. When cornering through the sand, keep the wheels spinning and continue your momentum forward. When riding deep sand, keep a firm grip on the bike with your hands and legs because the bike has a tendency to get a head shake. With the right methods, sand can be a lot of fun to ride in. For Team Suzuki, I'm Randy Hawkins. See you next week on Motoworld.
When Motoworld continues, we'll head to Tennessee for grassroots motocross, and I'll tell you what to look for during the remainder of the Outdoor National Motocross Championships. Motoworld will be right back after these messages. Enjoy watching motocross on Motoworld. Here's a suggestion. Ask your motorcycle dealer for a schedule of nearby motocross events, pick one out, load up the family, and head for the track. Chances are you won't see Jeff Stanton or Damon Bradshaw, but you will have a good time and you'll see plenty of exciting motocross action. Here's a sample.
What you'll see on any Sunday at your local motocross track bears a striking resemblance to the happenings at a full-blown pro-national event. There are some differences, of course. For example, you can roam the pits without a pass, and some of the equipment on display is suspect, like this umbrella holder. But for the most part, it's hard to tell the difference. Like the pros, the amateurs rebuild the start area between motos. Some riders will excavate, and others will fill in. The helmets and clothing are the same, and so are start procedures. Did we mention first corner action? Well, watch the upcoming pileup. Now that would do any pro event proud. Let's look at it again, this time from the front. 9 riders stack themselves up like cordwood, and 9 riders just can't wait to get back in it for more motocross fun. Now here's another similarity. Amateurs, like pros, need help with track directions, and if the rain should fall, amateurs get just as dirty as their licensed counterparts. And where's the promised action? Well, all you have to do is look around. This is the grassroots of motocross. The factory stars all got their start racing every Sunday on tracks just like this one. They learned in the heat of battle, and they learned from their mistakes. Grassroots motocross for fun, exciting action, and intense competition is about as good as it gets. Like I said, find one in your area, load up the family, and make a day of it. Take my word, you won't be sorry.
Now let's turn our attention to the pros and the Outdoor National Championship Series that opened way back in March. We'll start with a quick recap of what has already taken place, then go on to what lies ahead.
The Outdoor Championship Series is run with 3 different engine sizes, 125, 250, and 500 cc's. The 125 class, considered the junior class, is intended as an opportunity for younger riders to cut their teeth on the motocross circuit. Junior class or not, 1 or 2 top riders always seem to find their way into the class. This year, the best in the field is former World 125 champ Jean-Michel Bayle from France. Of the 4 events run to date, Bayle has captured 2 outright, and with 9 events remaining in the 125 series, holds a commanding lead over Guy Cooper. In 250 competition, defending champion Jeff Stanton is on top, despite not winning an event or a moto this year. The Team Honda rider has done it with consistency. Jeff Ward is the big winner in the 250 class with a pair of overall victories. If Ward maintains his winning ways, the season finale will decide the title. The current National Championship Motocross Series was originally designed to provide the best possible racing in all classes. Thus, the 6-event 500cc series begins 2 weeks after the final 250 event. The problem is neither Yamaha nor Suzuki currently have 500cc motocross machines. According to Yamaha team manager Keith McCarty and Suzuki team manager Ron Heben, those factories will not participate in the 500cc series. Instead, their riders will compete in some of the remaining 125 events and round out their schedules with selected European events. The championship, therefore, should boil down to a battle between Kawasaki's defending champ, Jeff Ward, and Honda's Jeff Stanton. Up in the air is the status of Kawasaki's Ron Lechien and Honda's Rick Johnson, who have both been inactive due to injuries. The questions are, will they come back? Can they come back? And how effective will they be if they do come back? You'll find out on upcoming editions of Motoworld.
Well, still to come on Motoworld, more road race action, and coming up just as soon as we come back, a technical tip from the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Keep it tuned to ESPN Motoworld. We'll be right back.
Brought to you in part by the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, the only major manufacturer-endorsed motorcycle training institution.
This week's Tech Tip deals with one of the most neglected yet vital aspects of maintenance, lubricating cables. Here's Dave Koshalik of the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute.
A broken clutch cable could leave you stranded and ruin your weekend. Clutch cables need routine maintenance in order for them to function properly. Inspect the cable for damage, especially the ends. They wear out the fastest. Cable lubrication can be made easy with a cable luber tool, available in most motorcycle shops. Simply disconnect the cable from your lever and insert it into the tool. Then use a spray oil, like Bel-Ray 6-in-1, to force the lubricant through the cable. This procedure only takes a couple of minutes, and your cable will love it. In return, it might just save your weekend. For Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, I'm Dave Koshalik.
Earlier in the show, Dennis Torres reported on the superbike action from the road race in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Now, as you know, there's a lot more to an AMA Road Race National than just the headline attraction. So here again is Dennis Torres with a story of the rest of the Road America action.
250 Grand Prix final, and number 46 veteran Doug Bronick is battling number 11 Chris D'Aluzio and the rest of the field. These two riders have gone head-to-head the last two races, and Road America was shaping up to be yet another chapter in the Bronick-D'Aluzio war. Unfortunately, Bronick crashed out of the race without injury, handing the win to D'Aluzio. The young Connecticut rider thus retakes the lead in the 250 standings. Finishing second to D'Aluzio was veteran Dale Franklin, while Jonathan Cornwell rounded out the top three. All were on Yamahas. Pro Twins GP final, alias the Jamie James Show. When the curtain rose on this act, James, number 73, went on to take his fourth win in as many races without any competition. Number 26, James Adamo, also on a Ducati, took runner-up honors for the second race in a row. And number 71, Kevin Arion, on the Two Brothers Racing Honda, took third for the second race in a row. One word can sum up this class: predictability with a capital P. That is, with the exception of the winner's circle, that flat champagne again foiled any chance for James to shower the fans. 600cc Super Sport Final. A gaggle of four riders were in contention in this one. Number 70, Tatsuro Arata. Number 5, Dave Sadowski. Number 55, Thomas Stevens. And number 1, defending series champ Scott Zampak were all in the hunt. At the checkers, though, Arata edges the others. It was a joyous occasion in the winner's circle as Arata had won his first ever AMA race he had entered. Moments later, though, his bike was disqualified for an illegal exhaust pipe. Say sayonara to the win and say congratulations to Dave Sadowski, who was elevated to the win. Zampak was second, Stevens third. Reporting for Motoworld, this is Dennis Torres.
Motoworld.
For 2 years running, Team Harley's Scott Parker has captured the #1 plate in the AMA Camel Pro Dirt Track Series with teammate Chris Carr close behind. This year, more of the same. Out of 7 events, they have 5 wins and 6 second-place finishes. Difference is this year, Parker is chasing Carr. Here's Mark McKay to fill us in.
Heading into round 8 of 17, Chris Carr, with 3 wins to his credit, enjoyed a 17-point advantage over the defending champ. At Lima, though, Parker had a secret weapon, a rooting section that understands what winning is all about.
I'm here in Lima, Ohio to watch Scott Parker win tonight. That's what it amounts to. I got to know Scott real well and spent some time riding with him, so I thought I'd come see how he could do here in Lima, and just my weekend off just to enjoy something different. Instead of going to motocross race and busting my butt, I can go watch somebody else.
Due to heavy rains, Stanton had to wait until almost midnight for the main event to get underway. When it was finally over, though, the contingent of fans that stuck it out agreed it was one of the best half-mile races on record. Setting the pace in the early going was Parker, Carr, and 3-time national champ Jay Springsteen. Soon, though, the trio became a duo. Parker and Carr, swapping the lead too many times to count, rode the ragged edge and left Springsteen behind. At the midway point, the pair of riders were virtually tied. Meanwhile, Steve Moorhead from nearby Findlay, Ohio, was on the move. The 2-time former Lima winner suffered a poor start, but with the race underway, was the fastest rider on the track. closing laps, and here comes the only apparent mistake of the night. Watch closely. Chris Carr on the inside hit a hole coming out of turn 2. A miraculous save, but it was the edge Parker needed. On the final lap, Carr, with Moorhead right behind, closed on Parker, but time ran out. The defending champ won his 3rd national of the season.
I appreciate all you fans for staying around to watch the main event. I also want to thank R.J. Reynolds, Bill Warner for building a fine motorcycle. And Dave, I don't know how much more I got left, but I'm going to try one of these.
The win was also Parker's 3rd at Lima and the 33rd of his career. Where does that rank Parker on the all-time win list? You guessed it, 3rd, tied with the great Ken Roberts. Incidentally, Parker is going for his 3rd national championship. For Motoworld, I'm Mark McKay.
Well, time is about to run out on this edition of Motoworld, but before we say goodbye, here's some late-breaking moto news. A pair of American riders finished 1st and 2nd at the most recent round of the 125cc World Championships held at Colinchie, Ireland. KTM's Bob Moore took overall honors, followed by Honda rider Donnie Schmidt. Reverse their finishing positions, and you'll have the first 2 places in the championship point standings. With only 3 events to go, it appears an American rider will snare the 125 World crown for the 2nd year in a row. And what of last year's 125 World champ, Trampas Parker? Well, the KTM rider from Louisiana switched to the 250 Grand Prix class for 1990. At round 5 of that series, Parker dislocated his shoulder and was forced into spectating the next 3 events. At round 9 of the series in Rothenthurm, Switzerland, Trampas celebrated his return to racing by winning both motos. Parker's quest, though, for a 2nd World Championship will have to wait at least 1 more year. Alessandro Puzar, with 3 events remaining on the schedule, is as close to a sure thing as you can get. And finally, a medical update on the condition of injured dirt track champion Steve Eklund. According to Ann Olson of the New Mexico Trauma Center, the former national champ is still in critical but stable condition and is breathing with the aid of a respirator. Eklund, you may recall, suffered serious head injuries at the June 17th Albuquerque Mile. We'll update you on any change in Eklund's condition. And with those international updates, we're out of time. I thank you for joining us, and I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Motoworld. I'm Larry Myers saying for all of us here at Motoworld, so long. We'll see you next week right here on ESPN. And remember, keep your wheels on the ground and your feet on the peg.
Motoworld has been brought to you by